Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Claritysoft Focus Training webinar. Today is Tuesday, September 25th, and our topic today is creating dashboards. And dashboards in Claritysoft are kind of fun to create because, as we all know, we can look at reports and lists and things like that we pull out of the database, but looking at it in a graphic format of a chart makes it much easier to read the data. So our goal today is to learn how to create the custom dashboards and save them, and then you can display them either in the dashboards module or you can display them on the home screen once you've created them. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Today we're going to create 3 different dashboards. One that's going to show the sales by the sales rep for year to date. And then we're going to do the top 5 accounts for sales, where we're going to pull out our accounts by the top 5 sales amounts. And then the last one, we're going to do leads by lead source to show us how many leads we brought in per lead source type. So those are the 3 that we'll create today. Each one is a little bit different, so as we're working with those, you will learn some little tips and techniques for creating things for yourself. And before we start, just as a reminder, there is a Q&A panel for Zoom meeting, and if you have any questions, go ahead and type your questions in that Q&A panel, and then I will be happy to answer them. I know sometimes people find the chat window too, and I do have that up if you go there, but the Q&A panel is probably the easiest place to go. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll move on to my Claritysoft. So in Claritysoft, 2 places, as I said, where you can view the different dashboards that we have in the system. One is on the home screen. And here, when you first log into Claritysoft, this will be blank. And you can go to the settings button here and choose chart indicators. There will be a list of the built-in charts that are available to you, and you may choose up to 4 for viewing. As you create and save additional charts or dashboards using the dashboards module, those will be displayed in this list as well. So then you can create your own custom ones. You can come here and you can display them. Now, one thing to remember here on the home screen, you can display up to 4 charts at one time. And the same thing with the key indicators that are these little boxes up here across the top. You may display up to 4. This is individual settings. Each user may set up to view different charts and key indicators on the home screen. All right, so where we want to head is the dashboards module. And when you first go to the dashboards module in Claritysoft, you get this lovely blank screen. So what you need to do is come over here to this vertical ellipsis button to click on it and then go to settings. This is the same list that you saw in the home screen. So they're the same thing. And you can turn on any charts that you would want to see here that you've already created. So I don't know if any filters are here. I'm just going to click on this. And it will show that it will display the chart as designed. So you, again, now here you're not limited to 4. I believe you can have as many as 8 here displaying. And so you can turn on what you want. But what we want to do is create one from scratch. So to do that, you click on this button that says New Dashboard. And the first thing that you need to do is set up your data series. And you can see that we have different tabs up here for designing the charts. This is similar to the reports module, where with the reports, you have to first of all pick the type of report and then the fields that you want. This is very similar. You're first of all setting up your data series. What data are you pulling in from the database? So you come here to the data source field, and the first one that we're doing is sales by sales rep year to date. So we want to pull the information from the sales module. So you're picking the module from which you want to pull the data. Then you need to set up your two axes in the report. The value axis is the Y one, the argument is the X axis. So this is your vertical axis, your horizontal axis. So first of all, we need to select, well, what type of value property do we have? A straight value or a function? A straight value would just be pulling in a number and not doing any type of sum or count type of function. Well, what we want to do here, we don't really have a field in the sales module that's a total value for the sales for each sales rep. It's, you know, each individual record in there needs to be added. So we want to choose the function. Then it gives you a field here for what type of function do you want? A sum, a count, an average, a max, or a minimum. Well, we want to do a sum because we want to add all of the sales per sales rep. Then we get to select, well, what data field is the information coming from? And you can see here we have two fields, a subtotal and a total. The subtotal field will be the one that does not include shipping and handling and tax. The total field will include any shipping and handling and tax. And probably since you don't really make any money on either of those two, you're actually paying it back out, you want to point to the subtotal field. So that's the one I'm going to select here. So I'm saying, all right, I want a sum of the subtotal field on my y-axis. The scale type here is, what do you want it to be? Since this is in dollars, I can choose currency. I could choose numeric too if I didn't want the dollars and cents, or you can just let it do an auto. That means it'll pick what it thinks is best. And know that you can always come back in and change these things. All right, then we're going to move on to the x-axis, which with our argument. And here we want to pull in the sales rep. So we find that down here. And as soon as we pick that, notice that over here in our little preview, we're getting a preview of the chart. So that at least tells us what I've done so far makes sense to the program. Now, please note that over here, this is not actual data. This is just sample data. So don't start looking at this and think, oh my gosh, this is all wrong. So just it's just a preview to show you that you're actually getting data, okay? And then the scale type here, again, I have the same things. I'm just going to leave this at auto because it's really text. So it'll just do what it's supposed to do. And then the format is, do I want the numbers? If the numbers are big enough, I can format them in thousands, millions, billions. So you could, you know, if your sales numbers are huge, then you could say, well, I want to format it in millions. If they're not real huge, then you could go to thousands, or you can just let this program pick. Ignore empty here means to ignore any records that would have no value. So for example, if you had any sales reps that had absolutely no sales, then to ignore them and not include them in the chart. So I'm going to click here to do that. And again, notice that it doesn't change it on the fly here. No worries. All right, the next thing we want to do is go to the chart type tab, and we get to pick what type of chart we want to display. So currently it's a bar chart, which is probably fine, but you have different types of charts that you can select. Again, You can choose ones. Some of these obviously don't make sense. You could do a line chart. So these are things that you get to pick what type of chart you wish to see. So depending on the kinds of data that you're pulling out, you would pick an appropriate chart. And we're just going to stay with the bar chart for now. Enable labels. This means that labels will appear on top of the chart, the bars. So you can choose to either have those turn on or off. All right. And we'll leave those off for now because we're going to display them a different way. Then this one, select top, we will actually use this on the second chart we're going to build because we're going to select the top 5 accounts for sales. So this one we want everything. So we're not going to click in this right now. Next step, chart title, giving your chart a name. So this is going to be sales. And then the subtitle can be year to date. So that's what I'm going to be putting in. Now your x-axis title will be the title of the x-axis down here, and I can put in sale rep or rep. And then the y-axis will be total sales. So you can see again, the system goes ahead and puts your titles in to show you what they're going to look like. If you decide you don't like it, then you can take it back out. Legend. In charts, the legend shows you, say, different colors to represent different things so you know what each one represents. In this particular chart, because we have the names of the sales reps here, we have the values here, we don't really need a legend. This is kind of useless over here. So we're just going to say, nope, we don't want the legend and turn it off. And we'll be doing a chart, the third chart we do, we'll be working with putting in a legend. So we'll come back to that. All right, then the tooltip. The tooltip is, like I said, when you point to the columns, it will show you the value, the exact value for that particular column or bar. So we're going to have that turned on. And then you also get to select a color for its background. So you can choose what you'd like. Oh, let me see. Do something that's not too awful looking. Oh, let's do this up here. So that will be the color of the tooltip when I point to it. All right, then appearance. This is the actual color scheme for the chart itself, and you have different color schemes that you can pick. So there's the soft pastel, there's the harmony light. If you've got some corporate colors, you can choose those, maybe get close to those. So pick your appearance colors, then drill down. Now this is an interesting one because what you can do with this, if you have created a report in Claritysoft that is the data for sales by sales rep year to date, then you can attach that report to this chart. And that's what provides you with the drill down to the detail of per record, you know, per person. So we have already created a report here that is year-to-date sales by rep. So this is going to be set up with the same filters, time filters and everything, and pull the same data in. And so I'm going to click on that to attach this now to this chart. And what you need to do it, you know, as you're creating the chart is create the report first. and then you can attach it to the chart. If you don't create the report first, obviously you can save the chart, go create the report, come back in and edit the chart, and then go to the drill down tab. So, all right, now your data filters are the important part because this is telling you what data do I want to pull from the sales module. So we have a data filter and we have a time filter. I'm going to go to the time filter first because my time filter, I've said in my subtitle, is year to date, which means for 2018. So what I'm going to do is select the time period, and in this case, I want the order date. Okay. And I can just then click into the year to date circle. So that's telling me, according to the order date, this is going to pull out all orders that are somewhere in 2018. You also could do this one where it says this one year. That would work the same way as year to date. So, you know, I have all these different combinations here that you can do. And if you've worked in the reports, you have the same time filters. So they work exactly the same way. So I've set this year to date. Now I could go to my data filter, and maybe what I'd like to do is I'd like to say, well, all of the sales, I want to have actual sales that have actually been paid, that have, you know, not just invoiced, but they've actually, the money has come in. So I can come down here and choose status, and then I can say it's equal to, not equal to, whatever, but I want equal to, and then I can select paid. So these options here will depend upon what you've set up in your database. So I now have two criteria. It has to be this year, and the status of the sale has to be paid. So again, in your database, you just need to make sure those things are all, you know, up to date as far as the status. All right, so now I've got my whole chart all set up and I can save it. Now, if I simply come and click save, then Claritysoft is going to take the title of the chart and use that as my title for saving it. I also want to include year to date though in that title, so I'm going to do a save as, and then I'm going to do sales. Click OK. Oops, I have a duplicate, so hold on. There's another one. All right, so here is my chart right here. And notice when I pointed this, I picked a bad color for this tooltip because the white print does not show up against that kind of beigey background. So I'd want to go in and fix that. But I can see I have my people. The tips show the exact amount of money for each one. And this should match if you go back to your sales module and you do filter on the different people for their total sales. It should match. I have my titles here, I have my names and my reps. This is in currency format as I selected, and I have my title and subtitle. Now, notice when I point to the chart, I get these blue buttons. And these are the buttons that, this is to edit. I can go back in and edit the chart. This is to delete it. This is the drill down that I can go to that report, and I'll come to that in a second. And then this is to print it, and this is to refresh it, all right? Now, over on this chart here, notice that there are only 4 buttons. There is not a drill down button. So when you attach the chart or the report to the chart, then it will show that drill down button. If there is no report attached, then you do not see it. So this allows me to click here, and then it goes to reports, and it shows me the preview of the drill down report, which then I could go to download and download it to Excel. So it's just a way to have someone view the chart, and then at the same time, with one click, they can go and view the actual detailed data for each person. So it's a nice thing to be able to do. And then I need to go back to here. It comes back here. So that's chart number one. Again, pretty simple to do. You just need to decide the module, what data you want to pull in for your values, and what data you want to pull in for the argument side, and then define your chart. So with that, let's move on to our second chart. And I'm going to do new dashboard. And this one is going to be our top 5 accounts. We want to find the accounts that, the top 5 that have given us the most sales. And we're going to do this one for the last 6 months. So again, data series, we're pointing to the sales module. Our value is going to be a function again, and it's going to be the sum of, and it'll be again our subtotal, and we'll make the scale type currency. So this one is basically the same as the other one. Then our argument this time is going to be the account, because we're pulling this out by the account, not by the sales rep, but by the account. And again, our scale type can just be auto. The format can be auto. Again, it'll do it, and we can say ignore empty. Probably a good idea to always check this just so you don't get extra clutter in there that you don't need. All right, so we've got our data series set up. We see a sample over here, which is good because it means it found what we're looking for. And then we can choose our chart type again. We'll keep this one as a bar chart. We can turn off the labels again, but this time we want to select the top 5 records. Now, if you click here, you can see you can do 5, 10, 15, 20, so on and so forth. So depending upon, I suppose, the number of customers that you have, you can choose how many you want to see for your top. So I'm just going to choose the top 5. Then our chart title. And the main title here is going to be top 5 accounts for sales. And, or I could put it, I could do it this way. I could do it subtitle. Either way you want to do it. You don't have to do a subtitle. You can just put it all in the main title. And then here, the x-axis, because it's the name of these companies, some of them are kind of long, and you don't necessarily need a title down here to say what this is. It's somewhat obvious what it is. But for the y-axis, we could put sales total. So again, up to you how you do these. Legend, once again, because it's a bar chart, we don't need the legend. Tooltip, we'll turn it on and I'll pick a better color. So we'll do this really bright. No, let's not do that quite a bright blue. That's kind of hard on the eyes. So we'll do a brown. And then our appearance, again, pick a format that you want. We'll go with this one. And then we're not going to do a drill down this time because we don't have a report for this, so we won't do it. And then our, I'll go to the time filter first, and I'm going to select the order date again, and I'm going to say the last 6 months. So it's going to go back 6 months to pull in the sales information and give us our top 5 accounts, okay? And for the data filter, if you wanted to, you could go here and you could pick one specific sales rep to show the top 5 accounts for a sales rep, and then you could create, 3 or 4 different charts, one for each sales rep. You could pull in other information. So again, you use the data filter as you want. I'm going to leave it go for right now. And then I want to save it. This time I will do the save, so you see the difference. It just saves the chart with the name that is the title. And if your title's pretty clear, then, that's good. So here we are, top 5 accounts for sales. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are my 5 companies where I've had the top sales in the last 6 months. And I might want to add that into my title. So let's say I want to edit it and I want to go to the title and say last 6 months. So I can do that. I can save it. And there we go. Now I'm displaying these charts here in the dashboards module in what's called tiled view, where they're side by side. If I click this button, I can go to list view, which makes them display vertically. So depending again on the size of the chart, the number of bars you might have, you might want to view it in list view rather than the tile view, because the tile view might squash it a little bit too much. So this way it gives you a little bit more screen space to see it. So I could, if I wanted to, I could click this to print it to the printer. Or if I decided I didn't want it anymore, I can delete it. So that's chart number 2. All right. Chart number 3. And this one is going to be leads, the number of leads we've brought in per lead source type. All right. So our data source in this one will be the leads module. And our value is again going to be a function. This time the function, however, is going to be a count. We want to count how many new leads we got according to or by the lead source type. So I'm going to do a count of. All right. Then this is the kind of interesting one, because what we want to do here is we need to get a unique count, and we need to figure out what field would be a unique field that the computer would not find a duplicate of and skip. So in your leads module, you can have the same company twice, one per different contacts. So probably the best way to do this would be to choose an email, because an email is going to be unique for every person entered into the leads module. All right. Now that also means that if it's going to be counted, there needs to be an email address in the field. So you would know your data better than I do and be able to pick which field would be one that would be unique that you'd get an accurate count for. So I'm going to choose email. Then the scale type, here you could leave it at auto. You could set it to integer if you like, which would be just a number. I'm going to just leave it at auto. And then the argument property now, how we're categorizing all of this would be by the lead source. So we want to pick lead sources. So now you can see here we have the different lead source types, and then we have a count of how many records came in per lead source type, and it's looking at the email. It's counting the different emails in the list. Okay. All right, so again, we'll ignore empty. Everything else is the same. Now this one, this bar chart is not terribly helpful. This one would be much better as a pie chart because it's easier to see the representation of what is our best lead source type. In this case, it's website. So by far getting the most leads per website, okay? Again, now enable labels. I am going to leave that one turned on. Chart title is going to be leads by lead source. If you want to put a subtitle in, you can. We don't need an X and Y axis because we're not using that. Now here, the legend, we do want the legend turned on because if we turn it off, then we have absolutely no idea what these colors represent. So we do need to legend. So that is enabled. The legend orientation is where it's what way it's oriented. Is it horizontal, like that? Or is it vertical? I think it's much easier to read when it's vertical. So once we have that, then we can set, well, what type of alignment do we have at the top or at the bottom? I don't know about that one. And then horizontal alignment, is it on the right side, the center, or the left? Again, your choice, what makes sense to you, what seems easier to read to you. So you pick which one you want, and you're good to go. Then you can also, for your legend, this has no background color or border, which is perfectly fine. If you wanted to do just a border, you can click in the little checkbox to show a border and then select a color for it. So probably want something like that perhaps, and it puts a border around the legend to make it stand out a little bit more. And if you'd like to have a background color then inside there, you could do that. So again, pick something somewhat innocuous that doesn't hurt your eyes. I'll go back up here. This is very pale. So you could do a very pale blue or a beige or something like that, or no background at all. But you have that control of, first of all, turning it on and then controlling position, alignment, all of that. All right, tooltips. Here we can choose to have them or not have them. Let's see, so if we enable them and then we select again a color, I want to get something a little darker. I'll use this brown again. And then appearance, this again allows you to pick what color scheme you would like to have. If there's a different color scheme. Here's a bright one. So again, I suppose it depends on your mood for the day. Or again, corporate type colors that you're trying to show. So, all right. Then a drill down, if you have a drill down report for that, you can assign it. Data filter, if you wanted to filter, if there was a particular lead source that you didn't feel was, terribly good, you could filter it out. What I'm going to do here, even though this Columbus trade show got a fairly decent amount of people, I just want to show you this, that I can say, well, there's one lead source that I don't want to have or don't want to include, so I can choose the field lead sources. Then I can say it's not equal to, and then Columbus Trade Show. So I could say I want all lead sources except the one for Columbus Trade Show. And then the time filter, if you wanted to do over a time, you could probably pick the creation date of the lead record and then set it for a span of time. Because my data is rather haphazard in here, I'm not going to set a time filter, or we'll probably get nothing or very little for the report. So again, I've got everything set up the way I want, and I'm going to click Save and to use the chart title as the name, and go to the bottom, and there is my chart. So because I turned the labels on, I see the labels for how many. I have my legend, and I also get the tooltip. Now, since I have the labels turned on, I could go in and turn off the tooltip. I don't really need that. It's rather redundant. So let me go back in and turn that off. But you can see how they work. So if I go to tooltips and I say disable, and I save it again, then I'm not getting anything when I point, okay? But I have my labels. All right, we have completed 3 charts in less than 45 minutes, and that's pretty good for me to get you done in less than 45 minutes. Any questions at all? Again, you can point to any module. You can, pull the data in using sums and counts and minimums and maximums with the functions, and get your charts lined up and then save them. And then now if I wanted to go see different charts here, I simply go to my home screen, the settings button, chart indicators, and here is my sales by rep. Wait, it's sales by sales rep year to date. Turn it on. I can do top 5 accounts. And then I need to turn these off, says I can only have 4 because it'll yell at me. And then I can do leads by lead source. So there are my, and if I turn off this one, there are the 3 dashboards that I just created and saved. Okay. Couple of comments. If one of your users is set up as an individual user in the database, and that user creates a dashboard for sales, that user will see only the values for himself or herself. It will not see for everybody because it will only pull that person's data into the chart. So that person, if they are an individual user, have individual access, that for the top 5 accounts, they would only see the top 5 accounts for themselves. This would be any user here if you have an access profile of all. So those are different controls that we have that show only what that person can see in the database. All right. Any questions on anything? If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A panel. If not, then I guess we can go ahead and end our session for the day. And let me get back here. Go to our screen. So I thank all of you for coming today and participating in the webinar. If you have any topics that you would like us to cover in future training sessions, please send them to info@claritysoft.com. If you have any questions for our support team, then you can contact them at this number here, the 888-838-7487 extension 2, or email them at support@claritysoft.com. If you are working with your implementation specialist, either Linda or myself, then you can certainly go to one of us for any questions that you have. So with that, since I have no questions, I will go ahead and say have a wonderful rest of the day, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.